do. All right, here we go. All right, so, wow, it's been a week. It's been a really crazy busy week for all of us everywhere. Pretty lethal weekend. Well, I wouldn't say, well, maybe not lethal, maybe just a sad time for some people. Hopefully my sound is good. I never know until someone pops in and goes, hey, it sounds good. Or, oh my God, the sound is terrible. Which is also part of the reason why I start off with the books, because if things go bad, I'm not losing drawing time. First things I'm going to go over. My son and I finally celebrated Father's Day on Friday. It was just a timing with his work and everything. And he got me these two wonderful books. And what we did is he asked me what books I wanted. I told him, and I immediately erased them from my wish list so I wouldn't be reminded. So by the time I actually got the books, I completely forgot what I suggested. And they're both books I actually wanted for quite some time. This one has been recommended. It's kind of like little creative affirmations. I think reading it all in one go, because it's all advice and ideas and ways to think about creating. It's a great little book. He's created a little cottage industry about stealing like an artist. So it has a nice one of those kind of like matte velvety. Oh, it's down here, up here. Has a nice velvety matte finish on the outside, which I've already, because I just shoved it in a bag. It's already been scuffed up like crazy, but it's just a great little book. A lot of visual ideas and like how he's getting information across. I mean, just this: what you love, what loves you back. If you're lucky, that's where you're creating. So I mean, I think about my witches like this. It's like I love drawing the witches. They've been very successful for me, and when I'm working on the witch projects, I'm right in that spot. So it's good. It's good. It's a great way to think about how you're being creative. I've only gotten like maybe 30, 40 pages in. I'm trying to slow down how I go through it. I think it's the type of thing you want to read like a page or two at a time. Think about it, and then maybe start off your day. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I think initially went through like 20, 25 pages, like right about, and it was just overwhelmingly great information. So I think this is kind of like a artist's bedside book or breakfast table book, where you have this and you look at it the last thing before you go to bed, or it's the first thing you look at in the morning. So this is a great little book. The other book I've been hearing a lot about is Rick Rubin's Creative Act, A Way of Being. I just read a little bit. I read an excerpt online ages ago. And it's really just thinking about being creative, the creative life, and the stuff that artists and young artists in particular should really, really benefit from. The little bit I read online, and really felt like it was a reaffirmation of thoughts I had developed as an artist over the last, gosh, I don't know when to say I started being an artist. I knew I wanted to be an artist when I was around 11, 12. When I first found my first Frazetta art book, and he talked about having a career as an artist. I didn't even really, at that age, it didn't even really occur to me that you could be an artist for a living, despite loving comics and like fantasy art in general, until reading that little micro biography in the Frazetta book. I didn't see a path to make a living at a drawing. But I think that moment is what made me decide that, yeah, I'm going to be an artist. So maybe I've been an artist since I was 12. Maybe I've only been an artist since I finished college. I was actually selling work before college. I sold my first real professional illustrations in college. So at what point do you decide that you're a professional artist? 12, 20, 21. Am I only now that I'm thinking about it in a more advanced term, in the last decade or two, am I a professional artist? I don't know, but so I think the sooner you encounter books like this and feel like an artist, the more you can think about like what it is to have a creative life. So a wonderful, wonderful gift from my son. In a slightly sadder note, one of the first artists I discovered just from reading indie books. And he worked in a realistic style. I mean, he wasn't Dave Sim, he wasn't the Hernandez brothers. He worked in a style that felt close to what I was doing. It's the artist Michael Zulli. He just passed away this week. And the work I first met him with was a little black and white indie book. I think Dave Sim originally was the first publisher for it. Love or hate Dave Sim, who he is now, he published the Puma Blues, and it was a strangely prescient environmental science fiction project, and it's still in print. I mean, it's like um, I double checked before I came on, and it's like there's just like maybe a dozen or so copies on Amazon.ca on hand. So there's probably more in the U.S. And I'm not sure the status of Dover Books. At one point, I heard that they went out of business, but I'm still seeing Dover Books for sale. And this is a Dover edition. This is one of the brilliant things that they brought this back into print. There's actually an Alan Moore story in here too. So it's like this is great stuff. And the work, I'm gonna right from the outset. This is Dave Sim here, but I mean, there's this great issue where it's just about these weird flying manta rays they're mating. But I mean, right from the outset, the art was just gorgeous. And I think after this, he did so much work with Neil Gaiman on both Sandman and other projects that defined his career. He did an early Kickstarter book, which I missed out on, and I'm talking to his widow online about possibly getting a copy. It just looked beautiful, but I only found out about it after. And I mean, this book here, this is back when black and white books. Talk of the Boom was one thing. This was a very indie book. So I don't think its sales were ever great. And here we are. I mean, they produced 500 some odd pages. What's the total here? Let's go right to the back. 560 pages of Puma Blues comics. Just beautiful. And he also did this, the only Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arc I ever liked, where he drew them as fantasy creatures. So I'm trying to track down a copy. Apparently, there's a hardcover edition a few years ago that's long out of print. But I'm trying to get that. One of the other projects I really liked, a Neil Gaiman project, was a concept 3-issue miniseries going together with Alice Cooper's The Last Temptation album. The idea was given to Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman brought Michael Zulli on board. And I have this edition. I have the original copies somewhere in a box somewhere. And I think there's a color collection. I've never seen it for sale. I should probably look for it after the stream. Let me check here. Audio keeps playing Sugar Sugar. Anson, you're awesome. Hey, Charles, how you doing? So when I saw this one and it said black and white, I was super excited. Dark Horse put it out, and I was super excited. So when it arrived, I was like, "Oh yeah, look at this rich black and whites." They printed it in this brownish gray. I mean, you can see it. You can see Michael's work, but it seems like robbing it of the impact of a truly good black and white reproduction undermines it a bit. I don't know whose decision it was to put it in this dark sepia. I do relish, being able to. After a while, you get kind of used to how gray everything is. But it's like, considering he was working with I think it was duo-shade paper, because that's where a lot of these tones come from. It just feels like it weakens the work a bit, and it's such strong work that it looks this good as you're flipping through it. And it's one thing. I just wish it was like in a real strong black ink. It's also a little bit smaller. I don't. Was this? I mean, maybe something. This is something that Michael Zulli wanted. He wanted to see what it would look like in this. But I mean, look at this panel, like with the screaming bat Kane and Alice Cooper's face here. I mean, that would look so amazing in just like a nice strong black ink. And there's I could have dug up more Michael Zulli work, but I figure Puma Blues is where I started. This book, I'm pretty sure this book's in print as well. I wish I could have tracked down the Turtles book, the hardcover Turtles book. Um, I'm still looking for it, but yeah. So he's incredible talent. We just lost. Um, I mean, in a week where we lost Richard Simmons, Shannon Doherty, um, Dr. Ruth, Shelley Duvall. He's going to get lost in the shuffle a bit, I think, because I mean, being an artist in a world where artists are usually taken for granted. Uh, yeah, so I love his work. I loved his work since I first encountered it. Um, and knowing that we never get more, because according to his widow, he worked pretty much right until he passed. So knowing that that's it, the flow of beautiful work has stopped from this gentleman. It's hard. This is the one that hits me this week. All the other ones passing, there's a certain amount of sadness. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Dr. Ruth, is it Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Yeah, Dr. Ruth. She lived a very long life. Shelley Duvall had personal demons she's struggling with, but passing in her 70s is not a terrible, not a terrible thing. Shannon Doherty dying so young, 53, of cancer. That's sad, but yeah, I mean this guy's work spoke to me. So all right, so today you made a big deal of the sepia. Really, I didn't know that. Because I didn't see any notification of the Alice reprint at the time. All right, so this week I'm doing another piece for the upcoming Comic Art Fans um, event that I'll be doing in August, and I'm drawing the Savage Swords of Betty and Veronica. I had this idea when I was doing um, all the other cartoon riffs, and I wanted to do Sabrina Sorceress Supreme. I might still do that. That might be fun. But I just, that Adam Hughes book that came out a little while ago. I think I showed it. Excuse me, sorry. Came out a while ago. Such a beautiful Adam Hughes thing. I think he only drew like 3 issues of it. But it's so beautiful. So it's like the idea of like not drawing the cartoony Betty and Veronica is now there as a real thing. Possibly also because of the TV series, because they didn't do it animated, they did live action actors. Sabrina Amon, Thulsa. What's her last name? Sabrina. I watched all the Netflix show and I thought it kind of lost its path, but it was cute. It was charming. I thought it was very well cast. But yeah, just the idea of like doing Barbarian Betty and Veronica's was almost a gimme. And it's like the idea of like an alien Archie versus aliens. It would be a nice one shot. An actual Savage Swords of Betty and Veronica one shot would probably be so much more fun. And I made subtle differences, largely based on Adam Hughes's take on when he brought him to life. So Veronica's a little taller, a little thinner, a little flatter. Betty's a little bit more muscular, a little more buxom, and blonde and brunette. And so it's fun. I'm going to be drawing him in like a big rocky environment. I was going to draw like a tavern with a bunch of bodies, but I figured that kind of took away. Oh, look at the pen's already. I opened a marker and it's already messing my hands up here. That's always tricky. That can actually mess up the art. Let me just wipe my hands and figure out where the leak's coming from. So yeah, just figure it's a nice coverish image of Betty and Veronica. Would be a fun thing for that Comic Art Fans thing. And let's take a look. Where's that ink coming from? Wiped on the pen. Nothing there. Oh, it's in the cap. So what that means, sorry, is in the post. This is the post. When you post a pen, that's what you're doing. That's posting a pen cap. So that having the ink coming in means there's probably a ton of ink floating around on the inside. Sorry. So this is what happens when you post a pen. That's when you're throwing the cap on the back of it. It's called posting. I didn't know that either until a few years ago. But what probably happens is the ink ran from the felt tip of the pen into the cap here. And then the cap put the ink on the post. So I'm going to do a quick little paper towel exploration. If I had Q-tips here, I'd do it. I have some somewhere in my studio, but I don't know where to look for them. See what happens. How inky will this come out? Just a little, huh? I still got more ink in my thumb there. Wow. So where is? All right. Well, I'm just going to assume I can be careful from now on. Make sure none's on the edge of my hands because that's where it smudges. Betty and Veronica. Riverdale. Well, that's what I was thinking. I think Riverdale makes a. I mean, it sounds like. Oops. Sounds like a fantasy town's name. So I wouldn't have to. I wouldn't have to change anything. I would keep all the names. Moose would be Moose. That works. Jughead would be the town drunk. Because he's always at the jugs. Archie's a little contemporary for us, but we can roll with that. So yeah, I still haven't gotten hold of anyone over at Archie about possibly doing Archie Aliens, which would be a really probably a real hell of a negotiation for them to try and get going with Marvel. But I think a Barbarian Betty and Veronica or Archie project would probably be a lot easier to get off the ground. So yeah, I think I'll probably make a slight bit more effort to get in touch with them and see, can we do one shot? I know some people. I could bring some people on board. It'd be fun. It wouldn't just be me. As always, I'm starting off inking the faces because if I screw up the face, I can just print out a new one and start again. Because if I screw up the face, I don't want to try and fix it and save it if everything else turns out all right. I already figured there's going to be like some sort of big dark shadow rock thing coming through here. And so everything on Betty is going to be light. So she'll pop right against. And then Veronica's all going to be dark armor, dark clothing and everything. And they'll be like, you can see like the rock and texture of the rock. So they'll both pop at the same amount from doing it like this. I don't even know necessarily what they would have to do. I mean, another barbarian tribe is trying to move in on them, trying to raid Riverdale, or some ancient evil wizard is going to try and shut down their school. It's going to be really heavy. Sorry for my concentrating on my drawing there. I might have screwed up the face here already. Yeah, I want the filter more there. That's an easy fix. I'm not too worried about that. I want to give her a piercing in her nose, but it won't show up. So maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, I'll probably do a little bit of white paint there. Do I want to give her lipstick? Yeah, so it's going from there a bit. Yeah, no, that's all right. All right, let's get Veronica's face here. Movie I want to see. Brought about mentioned it last week, I believe, about Longlegs. Apparently, it's open and it's doing incredibly well. So, and I've been watching some spoiler-free reviews. If you really liked Silence of the Lambs and creepy, almost supernatural horror movies, because I've been told that there's supernatural elements that they don't lean into too much. Longlegs is for you. So I'm going to try and catch it this week if I can make the time. On camera. I was gotta make sure I was on camera because I'm so prone to just start working away and just assume the camera's pointing in the right direction. Trying to think what other movies have opened up recently. I think there was a kids movie, Despicable Me 4, opened, I think, to good feedback. Not my kind of movie. I mean, it's certainly adorable, well made. I saw the first Despicable Me. The Minions thing were just not my cup of tea. Let's give her lipstick. Here we go. She's Veronica after all. She'd have more heavier makeup. And let's give her cat's eyes too. I think I give her in the pencil. I give her too much of a jawline, so I'm gonna soften that a bit. Let's give her a piercing there. Pupils would help. So, what movies are you guys looking forward to with the remainder of summer we got? No one's looking forward to movies this year. All right, good to know. Yeah, mouth is looking more chunky. You have to clean that up a bit and simplify that nose a bit. I find that when you're trying to draw pretty, the less information you put on the face, the better when it comes to more simplified cartoony drawing approaches. Yeah, I go. Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm really enjoying more TV and more live videos. Like Carrie Nord was on David Finch's podcast or stream the other day, and it was quite lovely. Um, so I get that. When I go to movies, I try and go and decidedly off peak hours. So I will see a movie at I don't go see on first day of release. Um, so I don't do that. I'll go see a matinee if I can, or I'll see like a late showing on an off night, like on say a Wednesday night when no one's going to movies anymore. And so that's what I do to avoid issues. No, that's not a brush. I want a brush marker. So I still catch a lot of it, and I think it used to be. It's like, is that movie? Am I going to watch it in the big screen, or going to for it to come out on Blu-ray? Now it's very much a case: am I going to catch it on the big screen, or going to wait like a week for it to show up on streaming? Because everything's on streaming so quickly now. I think it's ridiculously fast. It's like the studios are so terrified that they're not going to make money off of the movie as quickly as possible to their investment that they want to dump it onto streaming when people are still thinking about it in terms of theatrical releases. I think that's the marketing idea here, and I used to be a lot more in touch with Hollywood people. Now I'm talking to them mainly about spoilers and like production leaks and stuff like that. Because I haven't done production work myself in, is it 20 years? Maybe longer, 21, 22 years since I've actually worked on a movie. Um, and that's, I'm trying to think, when was the last time I worked on a movie that actually got released, right? And I got to take a credit for it. It's been a long time. So many movies get developed and nothing happens with them. And if you're not like, full-time Hollywood production person, you end up working on a lot of those, which is what I did. So put a little shadow there. I'm gonna throw some loose hairs in there with a pen. Yeah. Yeah, Dune 3, I will see them. I mean, honestly, Dune on the big screen. I think both times me and the boys saw it, the theater wasn't that crowded. I think there was maybe, and first time we saw it was pretty close to release. I think there was at most 15 people in a pretty large theater. including us. And the second time we saw it was near the end of its theatrical release. I think it was like a week left, and there was only one other set of people in there. We got our regular spot, and the other people were sitting like 4 rows behind us. It was pretty safe, I felt. Going at it this way feels like the safe way to approach seeing a movie. See 'em when the theater's not expecting to make any money. Honestly, I think I drew that breast down too low. There we go. Yeah, that looks better. So I will see, unless I'm, oh my God, I was in a Best Buy the other day, waiting for someone. And I was looking at these new TVs. My TV is 9 to 10 years old, and it was um, old enough for Best Buy to put it on their Boxing Day sale at about 50% off. So I got a pretty decent TV that was probably already replaced that year in terms of like market viability, and they were just selling off their older stock. So I got a great TV. And I was thinking TVs last 5 to 8 years tops. Here we are going into 10 years, and it's still going. So I'm feeling a little. I want those new OLED TVs. I was looking at one that is extra bright and it absorbs exterior light, so there's no glare on it when you're watching it. And I'm just looking at this going, I want this. But I'm also, damn it, there's a part of me from being freelancer for so long. I think this is what I blame it on. I don't like spending money unless I have to. And I'm okay spending money when I have to. But this is off camera. That whole buy a new TV just because you want a new TV thing. If I was richer, maybe. I would much rather wait until my TV starts. Now, if there's some burn in, and there's no burn in on this TV, or if some of the pixels died, none of the pixels have died. If there was like any issue with it, would be a reason for me to replace it. Because I mean, 9 to 10 years on a TV, that's a good long time, especially when I got so cheap. But it's yeah, I might have to wait another year or two before I have to replace my TV. Pierce Navel and Veronica. Yeah, the picture is like, yeah, it's like, I mean, I get to see the story, and weirdly enough, a lot of my collection are like older DVDs. Like I loved Xena when it first broadcast. I loved it. So when I saw it on DVDs, I bought them all. Some of them are still in the cellar wrap, but I bought them all. And years later, I said, you know what? It's time for me to watch Xena again. It's been forever. And I put them on my Blu-ray player, and it upres them as best as could. But they're like, it reduced it into like a tiny little box inside the picture. So it's like I'm watching it on almost like a computer monitor in the middle of my like 48-inch TV. And the picture looks decent. It looks like broadcast worthy because it's very early DVD tech. But I'm like, oh, so if I get like one of these OLED TVs and throw on like an older DVD, I have this feeling it's going to be like so small I'm going to have to move my couch right up to the TV to watch it. So I could be wrong there. That could be like just not the case at all. But yeah, it's one of the considerations I'm looking at. It's like, do I have to replace more of my media yet again? Because I've done that already a few times. I mean, it's like I love the Lord of the Rings. before my wife and I ended things. I had bought it on higher definition Blu-ray, and watching those were like amazing. But when we separated, I just kept the old DVDs because those are gifts for me, and I felt I had more right to keep those than the ones I just purchased. And I'm just gonna put this whole arm in shadow so I don't have to do any white paint. And so this part of me wants to buy the new upscale Blu-ray of Lord of the Rings, even if it doesn't have the special features. I already have the special features on the Blu-ray. I don't need them. But it's like chasing technology my entire life. I mean, you go from uh, vinyl LPs to cassettes to CDs. And now people are playing vinyl again because I don't know why. It's just it's almost like technology is largely more important to try and sell us on the notion of spending more of my money than actually giving us a better quality of life. That could just be the old crotchety me talking there. Still on camera, good. Trying to get a shadow for that shield to look like it's falling across the floor. I saw quite like a very long time ago. VLC, is that like the library thing? I've been meaning to do that too. Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, even looking at old, like I grew up in an age when there was like full size LPs and then singles, like the little 45s. And I had seen 33, like because your old LP players had all the different like speeds, so you could play all the different LPs. But I only ever got vinyl in 45s and LPs. And when cassettes came out, the portability of cassettes was the big selling feature for me. And one of the first things I got when I started buying cassettes was a Sony Walkman. The idea of portable music was so revolutionary. I mean, prior to that, you could have like a little battery powered digital radio, and that was it. Then boom boxes, which I think boom boxes, um, I think boom boxes came out in the 70s, like the big, and it came out with cassettes. And I think some boom boxes actually played 8 tracks. My stepfather had 8 tracks, and that's where I got to listen to a lot of like Neil Diamond and stuff like that. Still love Neil Diamond. Um, Trying to give her like a more of a fancy outfit than Betty. Not sure what texture I'm going to put on her boot bags. Yeah. Yeah, we're at the point now where it's like, well, what's next? Everything's streaming, everything's digital. You don't own anything, which is the thing that really bothers me. All the software developers are running saying, you don't own it, we can take it away. So you have to pay us constantly. And no governments are seemingly wanting to take a stand on that. The idea that you pay for something you don't own it, that's absurd to me. And with that in mind, Adobe's recent claim that if you use their software to make it, they have every legal right to access it, which rightly upset not only every artist already fighting AI, and Adobe's already a recent proponent of it, upsettingly so. That just made everyone angry. A whole bunch of people just dropped using Adobe products right then and there, which I think is a perfect good answer to it. Luckily, my version of Photoshop is CS5, so it's before they started doing the subscription stuff, and so they can go hang as far as that. Because I'm until I have to replace again, it was broken. Until I end up having to upgrade to a computer where I have to replace the version of Photoshop I'm using. I'm just going to keep using the version I paid for. Feels like 12 years ago. When did CS5 come out? I'd have to look it up. I'm gonna pull that up. There we go. Let's go like that. So I'm just doing like fake chains. I'm not taking a huge amount of time drawing them because they're such small details. So I'm relying into what I call visual noise that looks like something. So it'll read like a chain and not necessarily take me forever to draw a very accurate, detailed chain. So if you look close to it, you see it's not a chain, but from a distance, it'll read like one. And that shield's coming down there. So that's connected there. I'm going to do a little panel right there. It allows me to do that little bit of armor that hangs, and nights it hangs right in the armpit. It like flies loose when the arm lifts up, so it provides a little bit of protection when the knight lifts their arm. So I'm just going to do, I used to know name for it, but forgetting at the moment. Might just do like a tonal line on it to give it a fabric texture. I'll leave that little spot skin color right there. Do I want to give her a necklace then? Probably should have drawn it already if I wanted the necklace. Yes, I still make sounds when I draw. So doop. And that shield, I initially penciled the shadow coming down to there. You might see the blue. But as I'm drawing it here, I think it's going to cut across more in the thigh. So, I'm going to take a pencil just to make sure I don't screw it up. There we go. That seems to work for me. Going to do a crosshatch from the core shadow. Lean into it to smooth it out a bit. Did I tap this camera at some point? I think I did. With my head knows. What's this one? Bracer and shoulder pauldron. I don't think it's a pauldron. Pauldron is part of the shoulder armor, but I'm talking about this little disc that would sit in the. You know what? I'm gonna have to look it up. 1 second. This is gonna bother me the whole stream. All right. Put these books over here. Okay. Knight armor names. So we're gonna add armpit. There we go. Rondell. All right. So for some reason I thought rondell was a type of dagger, but it is. Yeah, here we go. Rondell most commonly hang off breastplates and cover the armpit, which is a vulnerable point. They may have also been used to study the jousting lance. In this instance, they're commonly known as bessigues. That sounds like it comes from the French, maybe, or the Latin. So a bessigue would support a lance, but a rondell would protect the armpit. All right, so it's a rondell. I mean, Betty and Veronica and the Rondells. That would be a new band for Riverdale in the Middle Ages, fantasy era. There we go. So instant learning for everyone. Rondell. Put her arm in shadow. Let's push that back, be a little darker. Should work more on Betty. I think I should work more on Betty. But let me just finish this shield here. I like the idea of a really beat up shield. Even though I drew this within the lips, when you freehand it, you get to rough it up. Let's give it like more of a thick edge, so I can render into it from the shadows a bit, and it gets all covered up when I ink it up. That extra dark line just really makes it come forward a bit. I can do things like lines, some abuse. Let this line fade away a bit, go a little heavy here, as if there's like, this is like a metal ring. You know, Viking shields would have like the wooden thing with the metal thing holding it together, so they could just rebuild a shield around the broken wood. I like the idea of like a metal ring, so you could use it as a slashing weapon, or if the metal was soft enough, the blade would cut in, and you could use it to disarm someone. Whereas the Viking shields, the wood was designed, if a slashing weapon hit the wooden edges of the shield, it could stick, and then you could like twist your shield, like with the whole, what's the term, with the English of your body, and disarm your opponent, and then they're screwed. But I like the idea of like a metal edge, so you can actually, like, if you slash someone with the edge of their shield, even if it's not particularly sharp, you can do some real damage. I indicated some rough pattern on this shield. I'm not sure I'm going to stick with it. It's almost vaguely like one of those weird flaring crosses. I might get back to that, think about that, and put something else in there. Let me draw this hand here. Sword. Gail Simone. 400-page novel. I have not read any of her prose. Hey, thanks, Brendan. Happy you like it. Yeah, I've never read any Gail Simone prose. Her Red Sonja stuff didn't really stick with me, but my problem with Red Sonja, I like what my pal Mark did, because he wasn't really telling a Red Sonja story as much as a political story that she happened to be in. I find that Red Sonja is largely an empty character, and takes on the personality of whoever's writing it pretty quickly. And so it's hard not to sound like you're just being dismissive of someone writing Red Sonja, because nothing's really stuck with Red Sonja apart from original 70s stuff with Roy Thomas, which is, not necessarily an issue, but Roy Thomas wasn't the best, character builder of comics. It's going to be in shadow, so I can be sloppy with the blade edge here. Just want more of a heavier cutlass. I want to take some more of the back out of that. I can do that. So you can see I can match up the curve there, but I kind of want, this is getting too wide here. So what I do is I'm going to move it down and get that curvature right into there and draw a second line. And because this is, there we go, that's better. Since there's the axe back here, all I have to do, and this is going to be all solid black, making the swords pop forward. I can just cover up my mistake like with black ink, which is the best type of mistake to make, one that's easily covered up by other drawing. Yeah, you know what? It is. Even though there are going to be dark Viking stories, they're still going to have strong supernatural elements. Every one of them is going to be a strong supernatural horror Viking project, and I'm going to lean into just laid out. I want to finish the witch stuff before I get too much working into We Bring Only Death. But there's a double spread I laid out. It feels like a pirate story in the sense of the layout, but it's a whole bunch of Vikings standing on this very, very barren northern beach with rocks and everything. And they started a couple of fires. There's a couple of boats that have been pulled ashore, and there's a bunch of Vikings standing around a bunch of other Vikings who are now on their knees with their hands bound. So you know bad things are about to happen there. But it's like just doing that as a 2-page spread with panels across the bottom is like, oh, I can hardly wait. Yeah, you know what? I think, I mean, there's a project I want to pitch to Dynamite. It's as a one shot as well. And I want to call it Kill Red Sonja. Takes the premise of Red Sonja as a Conan like swords person who keeps getting entangled in things that look good, but maybe shouldn't have been the thing that she said yes to. So she helps solidify the rule of some king of city-state. And in the opening pages of the book, this king is assassinated, and the members of the coup immediately say, "What do we do first?" Well, first thing we do is big letters, "Kill Red Sonja." And so it becomes like a John Wick thing where Red Sonja has to get out of the town alive. And so it's basically one big nonstop, just fight everyone, kill everyone, hide a little bit, run a little bit, and then escape. And of course, with the conclusion where she ends up killing some of the coup people. So I'm doing a bunch of covers for Dynamite, so I think maybe I can pitch this, but I also don't know when I'd be able to start because I got to do the witch book, and I got a project I'm writing for my friend Chris Mitten. I got to find out if he's still interested in doing it. I wrote a bunch of stuff for a couple of weeks ago. Now this is a 2-time period fantasy project, and I think it would find a really cool audience. It's a little outside what I've done already, but it's Chris Mitten would be perfect for it. Yeah, so many things I got to do. Holy crap, I'm busy. I'm at the point where I keep forgetting stuff. It's not good. Too many things to do. Hey, Amy, how you doing? Yeah, you made it with like about a half hour. I usually try to keep these to an hour and a half because otherwise I'm just exhausting everyone. It makes it impossible to watch all of it on YouTube. I mean, I've already had some people who say I like your book stuff, but I usually skip it whenever you watch it. I get that. I totally get that. The book recommendations are, to me, they're like a bonus. At some point, I'm going to start recommending comics I like for my friends, which I think is be a lot more productive. Like tiny little comic reviews. I read my buddy's book came out. Like one of the things I like to do is Zoe Thorogood's hack slash book. It was really, really entertaining. I think I might do that as the intro next week instead of like books about artists, or in this case, a memorial to Michael Zulli. So Veronica is mostly done except for like boot details. And I realized I probably did that last bit of boot off camera. So let me get back to work on Betty. Keep in mind that if you're going around everything in black, you can actually pull your outer contours a little further away from your pencil line. Does anyone else ever bother? I think we talked about this when I was like doing some Conan work, and I did like the spiral silver amulet around his arm. That ring that Buscema used to draw all the time bothered me because it's like, how does it stay up there? Not only that, how does he, if it's that tight, how does he get it on without cutting off the blood supply on his arm? So I like the idea of like hack silver. So what these are flexible silver bands that they wrap around their arm, and they can cut off some of it to pay for something. Because I know Vikings were very much into hack silver. That's where the torques came from, like the necklaces around their neck. If you needed to pay for something, they had silver right there. And I think also that's possibly the origin of the pirates and sailors wearing gold earrings. The idea being that the gold earring was a payment for burying the pirate or the sailor if they drowned and washed ashore somewhere, so they could actually, think that going into this they would actually get a fair burial. I think Betty's going to have a few scars on her arm. Keeping my throat so my voice doesn't start cracking at every odd moment. So a lot of like drawing things like fur are interpretations of texture. I'm not really drawing fur for as much as like the implication of like this weird puffy, fuzzy element coming out of her glove. And anyone who reads enough Swords and Sorcery will just interpret it as fur, which is good. I mean, it's like if there's an interpretation, then that means the visual communication is done. A lot of times you do not have to draw everything super realistically. You just have to give the impression of what you're drawing. And if the impression comes across, then you've succeeded. There's a lot of artists out there who spend so much time drawing everything, trying to get it as realistic as possible. When the viewer's not going to look, most images don't get looked at longer unless someone's sitting there and studying it. Most images in a comic book especially in panels, don't get looked at for more than 15 to 30 seconds. So if you draw it well enough to look good for 15 to 30 seconds, you've done your job. Of course, if I'm enjoying a drawing, I'm going to put more effort into it. If it's a more important visual image and it really, really has to impress, I'm going to spend more time in it. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand that there's going to be a lot of stuff you do in comics, and people are going to complain. Well, you rushed that. You didn't draw it as detailed as someone else did. It's because my job isn't to draw everything in details. My job is to tell a story. Which I wish I learned that earlier in my career, because there's a lot of drawing I spent a lot of time on that no one gave a crap about, and then there's like stuff I spent time on, and it's like, you know what? If I rush through the other stuff that was less important to the project, that dagger's a lot, so I'm gonna have to give it like an edge in there. And you have to manage your time when you're doing a comic book. Hey, Sylv, how you doing? Feeling better? Everyone sent good vibes up to Sylv. Her girlfriend has COVID, and they share the apartment. So I'm really worried about Sylv right now. Now, Sylv did want me to tell people that. I apologize, but it's too late. I'm an asshole. I hope you get COVID from your roommate there, your girlfriend. Okay, you know what? I actually broke the blade. I actually have the knife going the wrong way. So to fix that, you see-through ruler, any sort of see-through ruler, when you misdirect something, you can find the center line of part of your object and project it down to where you think it should be. Just do a dot. Run the parallel line just a little bit off to that because it's underside. A little bit. There we go. That works better. Okay, you posted it. Great. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted people to send you good vibes. Can't see. Oh shoot, you're right. Probably drawing off area again. I always do that. I should actually, when I'm shooting, I should probably set a box, like draw a box with tape on my drawing table and just make sure the artwork stays there. But when I'm working on a bigger piece and I want you to see details, it invariably end up moving stuff around. That is my bad. I gotta do better than that. Let's get a big belt buckle here. Haven't done a big barbarian belt buckle since Conan, so let's give it to Betty. Let's go right into the axe, so I feel like details as opposed to design elements. So Sylve is starting a drawing journey again. She asked for some advice, which I'm more than happy to give. But the first advice I give to anyone who's like coming back to drawing after a long time away is to draw things they love and just enjoy drawing. It can be any, it can be barbarians, it can be boobs, whatever you want to draw. And although, yeah, boobs are my thing. Draw for at least a half hour every day. I prefer an hour. If you can find an hour to draw it, then you're going to make more progress. You're going to get into it faster. All that good stuff. But if you can draw for a half an hour every day in a sketchbook, and the goal is just drawing stuff. I'm going to move this board out of the way. Causing the paper to slip a bit more. If you can draw for that half hour every single day, you will build a habit. And honestly, most improvement in drawing is from repetition. That's how I used to teach it. I give assignments and then I'd build up on what I taught the previous week, the following week, and do that again the week after, do that again the week after. And it was like, and it's how I got the most progress out of students, because they replicated the skills they developed the previous week. So they weren't forgetting them. They were just improving slowly, doing all the stuff I was telling them to do, which is, as far as things with teaching going, that's a great way to go at it. There you go, straight drag queens. That tracks. Sorry. But it's it's like before anything else, all the books I recommend on anatomy, perspective, and everything. Have I ever suggested perspective books yet? If I haven't, I should really make an effort to get some out there. Perspective books are great. Perspective is like the key to drawing realistic anything. But form your habit. Get to the point where you can comfortably draw for a half hour every day, and you enjoy it. You get into it. It doesn't matter what you're drawing; you're just enjoying the drawing. And then what you do is you add one lesson to it. You say, you know what, I suck at perspective, so I'm going to add at least one day a week. I'm going to spend a half hour to an hour on basic perspective elements, and just get those sorted. And suddenly you're going to know perspective, and that's a damn good thing. That's a hell of a bit of progress right there. And then, so I need a little bit more anatomy. I'm drawing all these dudes, and their bodies don't make sense. So all of a sudden, you practice some of the proportions, which proportions are more important than if there's a hierarchy. Your mannequin, when you're drawing from imagination as opposed to drawing from reference of any sort, your mannequin is only works if the proportions are consistent. Not necessarily accurate, but they have to be consistent. So that's an important thing. So Sylve is doing that. There's a part of me that wants to actually make instructive comment, because I do miss teaching. I don't miss teaching in institutions, but I miss teaching students. That was an important thing to me. I love passing on stuff I learned. So much stuff I learned over my career wasn't from art school. But I also noticed that a lot of art schools aren't teaching the stuff I was taught at art school. So that's not a good thing. So, I mean, those skills need to be maintained. Otherwise, it's gone. And lost knowledge is a terrible thing. Even if people aren't using it, that knowledge should be there. So I think the one thing stopping me from going on full on doing a drawing channel is I'd want to do it with an eye towards producing a book. Right now, my working title is things that I didn't learn in art school, and which I think is an apt title. But then I got to come up with a book full of all the things I didn't learn in art school. Because there's a lot of stuff I learned in art school I had to unlearn. There's things I learned better how to do, but I had to learn them in art school first, if that makes sense. That came on that side, that side. There we go. And her pants, wrinkle, knee, wrinkle. I'm actually making faster progress on this than I've made on a few other things. I got got so many things that are like moments away from being done. I just got to find the time to work on them. I've done so many covers and layouts and stuff the last few weeks. I am just swamped. I'm gonna put more, exaggerate the underline of the arm here because I might put some shadow under there. Half tempted to use some my rubber stamps to throw some shadow, but I already did it all linearly here. I think I should. It's closer to the body, so let me get that go a little darker. There it goes. That feels more like a shadow from the shield. And if I do the shadow from the shield, I should definitely do the shadow from the arms. And that would get some nice form across here in the belly and everything. There's great tutorials on perspective, really affordable, small, basic perspective books. I should really start recommending more of like an art book library for people. It's like, if you're only going to get one book on perspective, get this book type of thing. If you're only going to get one book on anatomy, get this book. Some of them are already done. Like the Jack Ham book is probably the best beginner figure book there is in the market, and you can go a long way with that. All right. So most of what's going on with this piece after this is like, got to finish the boots. It's not rising up because it's catching the lip of the pad here. So I got to finish those boots. Sorry about that. I got to finish the boots. A little bit more textures here and there. Shadow here from the arm. And then the rocks in the background and everything, which would be pretty easy to do. I think I can keep these boots actually a little simpler. I think I'm gonna let Betty's half skirt or whatever you want to call this. I'm sure there's also a name for that. Probably not rondelle. Just let that go to dark, and I'll go in with darker lines to define the cloth there later. Let's get some shadow happening here in the back of the leg. Also thinking that Veronica might be casting a shadow on Betty here, so this part might all be in shadow. So it might be better to render that darker. Yeah, I can incorporate her shadow kind of blending into Betty there. I kind of love Cora. Charles. I kind of skipped the Valeria Belief thing. I like the characters very much. At one point at Dark Horse, I was trying to get them to let me do 1 year arc of Conan, where it'd be the second half of the arc would be an adaptation of Red Nails, and the first half was I had the idea of like Conan being an Al Swearingen type character from Deadwood, if you're familiar with the series. And as a result of his mercenary troop being hired by some local prince of some sort, and the battle that they were hired for not happening, but it might happen, so they're keeping them on hand, but they're a bunch of like mercenaries, so they don't trust them, so they're camped outside this walled city, and it turns into a impromptu crime city that Conan's largely running. And then Valeria kind of comes into this on her way to Zachatl. Is that the name of the city again? I think it is. And boy, I wanted to do that, but Dark Horse just never responded. It was kind of sad. And it's not like the history of Dark Horse was actually ever good, because I was supposed to do. Mike Richardson had said yes to a Tarzan Conan series that Laverne Kazierski was going to write, and I was going to draw. And but what Mike Richardson didn't tell us or anyone else working on Conan is that Marvel had already got the rights to Conan away from Dark Horse. So I have no idea what the hell Mike Richardson was doing by not telling Laverne and I that your project's not going to happen. So that was a sadness. It's like Dark Horse doesn't know how to make money, and so they keep saying no to things that would have made them money. I don't know. Maybe it's the people who are currently more financially in control of Dark Horse are pulling the strings more. I don't know. There was also another thing. I mean, it's like Dark Horse had the license to Diablo. And one of the things I tried to get to pitch, and I was never given the opportunity to pitch it, which kind of bothered me, is an adaptation of the storyline from the first Diablo game as a graphic novel. I'm thinking it's like the story's there. It's foundational to all the Diablo projects that come after. So if you played the first Diablo game, what it is you're a barbarian, a sorcerer, or a rogue. And you're just going level by level, further down into the dungeon outside of this town named Sanctuary. I think it's called Sanctuary. I remember correctly. No, Tristram. And my idea was like to just tell the game as a comic book, and jump through all three characters as they reach out. And basically, so you'd have the barbarian arrive in the town. So you start with your barbarian. He gets introduced to all the townsfolk. And he enters the dungeon, and I'm thinking he gets killed by the butcher, which is like, I think, the level 4 boss. It's like this really, really scary. First time you play Diablo, the butcher shows up, and he goes out, fresh meat. And he's this really, really tough slab of bad guy you have to beat. So it's something you have to face. And so that'd be chapter 1. Chapter 2 would be the rogue, and you start with the rogue right after she kills the butcher. So she's picking up where the barbarian left off, but all her experiences in town and everything are the same. So you follow her further down into the dungeon. She encounters some of the people back up in the town. She gets some of the narrative, some of the lore. She encounters some of the ghosts and stuff. And then she gets killed by, I don't know, someone in the lava caves or something, like just before you go descend finally into hell. And then you finish off the story with the sorcerer. And then you have the thing where the sorcerer actually defeats the Diablo, and then takes the soul stone and shoves it in his own head. And you have the end of the video game. And I just thought that'd be a great, like, little 90 to 120 page standalone graphic novel that tells the story of the first Diablo game. So, because I mean, I know some people can get the updated version of the game to play on PCs, and I think it's incomplete if you get the pirate version. But it'd be great to have they spent all this time, they told this story, and then it's just gone. And I just felt, let's bring it back. And it's like nothing, crickets. So could be, maybe it's a bad idea. Maybe they don't see the value in creating a comic book for a license that actually helps the license beyond what they would ever do with it. So I don't know. I think I'm going to be better off just creating my own stuff anyway. Savage Mouth of House Orange. Watch, he whips out the sword and says, "Come at me, you cocksuckers." God. The Deadwood movie. Now it brings to mind the Deadwood movie, which a lot of people didn't talk about. It was actually pretty damn good. It wrapped up the story in a really nice way. It wasn't by any stretch of the imagination historically accurate to the stuff, but neither was the TV series. But I thought it was a nice little coda to the whole TV series. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Is this on camera? All right. I have an ancient to-do list on my drawing table. Is there anything else I haven't done? No. I can get rid of this. keeps catching the paper when I slide the paper up. Yeah. So. And bringing up Korra, I really loved. I loved both animated series, Avatar: Last Airbender, and then the Korra sequel. I thought the Korra sequel had elements that were disappointing in the sense that the story didn't go in the way I wanted it to. But that's not the point of stories, to tell me what I want to see. It's stories that entertain me and show me something I wasn't expecting. I felt the live action Airbender. I didn't finish it. It looked well done. The casting was pretty good. The Uncle Iroh casting was like really charming. I'm pretty sure if they got to the point where he sang to his dead son, I probably would have bawled my eyes out, because the animated series does that to me every single time. But somehow I just stopped watching it. It just lost me. It could be because I know the story too well from the animated series. Could be a whole bunch of reasons. Put just a little bit of shadow right there. Did anyone finish the Netflix series? So I want to do one more thing before I call it a night. Not going to do any fixes tonight. I'm going to save the fixes for the end, because So I want to do some more work in Betty's face here. That mouth there got a little clumsy, and that eye's a little too big there, too smudgy. I can actually see if this works. This part of me kind of wants to do a band right across her eye, but like she's done some face paint. You know what I'm going to do? The tone on Veronica's war bra. Not sports bra, it's a war bra. I'm just going to put a tone, the vertically hatching on it, kind of. And then I'm going to do some hatching. Yeah. Which series? There was a live action Avatar series on Netflix. They just literally retold the animated series with some changes, with live action actors and special effects. All right, we're past 8:30. Actually, 8:38. Wow, I went over. Yeah, so next week I have no idea what I'm drawing next. Again, it's probably going to be something for the upcoming Comic Art Fans live event at the end of August. And it'll be at 7:00 next Sunday night. And I'll make up my mind by Wednesday, hopefully, and I'll do a post draw. Korra. Yeah, maybe. That's a suggestion. That's a suggestion. But the idea would be to potentially produce something that the art fans. I haven't drawn Batman in a really stupid long time, so it feels like Batman might be a thing. Wolverine could be a thing. I'm looking at like top character. I just did Storm and Rogue a little while ago. So if I jump to another woman character, it might be Wonder Woman or something like that. And basically, I'm looking at characters with a fan base, so I can make this event on comic art fans, like worthwhile for comic art fans, hosting me and everything as an artist. All right, so this is the end of Sunday Night Live drawing, and I actually I think I got a fair amount of stuff drawn tonight. I'm going to pull this back here so you can see more of it. And if you want to follow me and see more of my imagery, just on a public free platform, there's Instagram, Richard_Pace. I'm also on Kara, which is the anti-AI art and photographer platform, which is great. I'm on Bluesky. Bluesky seems to be kind of like not really moving, but it's there. I posted there for people who follow on Bluesky. It's a nice, friendlier environment than Twitter ever was. And if you want to support me more directly, I have a $1 a month Patreon. You get to see stuff, most of my professional work with roughs and layouts and stuff, months before I get to share it anywhere else. And if it's not safe for work, like I did a nude figure this week, every other social media platform gets it censored. And if you want to see them nipples, it's only on Patreon, $1 a month. It's a bargain. Hope to see all of you next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this channel. And I want you all to have an amazing week. And what else? I think that's my entire end Steam spiel. Have a good night, people. Bye.